guys, how's it going? This right here is the ASUS VivoBook 14 Ultra that comes with the all-new 11th gen Intel CPUs that are powered by the all-new and much hyped Intel Z graphics. Now, as much as they've been hyped off, they do sort of live up to the performance claims, but it's not really the kind of performance that we all wanted. I mean, kudos to ASUS for being one of the first brands to bring 11th gen process to India, but having used this for a while now, I'm not really sure this is what users really asked for. Not ASUS's fault, but Intel's fault. Now, why do I say that? Let's find out. This is Varun from Guiding Tech and you're watching my review of the ASUS VivoBook 14 X413. Let's get started. Okay, so if you are a returning subscriber, you know that I usually divide all of my reviews into multiple different sections, giving proper time to each and every part of it. Though I'll just cut to the chase simply because the VivoBook 14 here is pretty much the same as the VivoBook S14. I mean, not pretty much, it's literally the same with upgraded internals. We've already done a review of the VivoBook S14, the link to which will be in the description box below or from a card here. But I'll just brush you up so that you are up to speed with what to expect with this package. The laptop has a plastic frame that looks really good, is kinda cheap, and personally I think I've preferred the white color a bit more. You get the same selection of ports on either side that should assist you for pretty much everything. The laptop still does not pass the 100 test, and I still wish this thing had the ergo lift hinge. The keyboard is a delight to type upon, though the backlight here could be a bit better. And the layout still has this annoying function key here on the right side, which is really annoying. The touchpad here is not just like the VivoBook S14, but pretty much like every ASUS touchpad out there, which means it's very average. The fingerprint scanner is unreliable, the surface of the touchpad in itself is pretty average, gestures work fine, but it's not a great experience and it is quite compact as well. You still get downward firing speakers and the webcam here is pretty good too. And well, that's pretty much the recap section of this laptop. Of course, I've talked about everything in depth in my S14 review, so make sure to watch that video if you do plan on buying this device. But yeah, let's just talk about the more important stuff here and what all is new here. Starting off with the display here. Now, see, the display here is not exactly new per se. I mean, it's still 14 inches, 84% screen to body ratio, and it still has 45% NTSC coverage, which is fine, which was the same as the VivoBook S14. The one new change here that we get is this is tough Rain Shield certified. So what that means is that it's good for your eyes and it limits the blue light emission without having a yellowish tint on the display. So for the end user, that basically means that your eyes are protected even while using it at the max brightness or in low light conditions without any issues. And yeah, that's pretty much about the display, because other than that, it's still fine. I mean, I have to applaud ASUS for having worked a lot on their displays, on the VivoBook lineup especially, because VivoBook lineups had pretty crappy displays. I'm being very blunt here, but they had very crappy displays. But if I look at the previous 2-3 generations, they have worked quite a lot. And so yeah, kudos to that. But now let's talk about the most important part, the reason why you're all here, to talk about the performance of this thing. Well, our unit here comes with an Intel i5 1135 G7 CPU coupled with 8GB of DDR4 3200MHz RAM. There's a 512GB NVMe SSD from Intel as well, and that's pretty much it. Now, before I talk about the benchmarks and the FPS numbers, let me just highlight what kind of a performance is something that you can expect from this thing, and those expectations are kind of limiting because of that 8GB of RAM. See, personally, I have a lot of issues with 8GB being a big constraint in today's world. The biggest problem with this laptop is the fact that it's not upgradable either. ASUS does not offer a different memory variant, and the RAM is not upgradable. I mean, the system reports it has 8 memory slots. Yeah, 8. I don't know what Windows or ASUS is high on, but yeah, that's obviously not being reported properly because I opened the laptop and Yeah, there are no expandable slots for memory, and that 8 GB of RAM in itself is quite limiting. What makes things worse here is that the Z graphics that everyone is so hyped about basically uses shared memory. So it takes a chunk of your RAM to basically convert it into VRAM and use it for your graphical prowess. Think of it as having just 8 GB of RAM and a portion of it is being taken away by the GPU, and what you're left with is very poor hardware for today's world, especially for the kind of claims that Intel has been making. I mean, maybe the processor is good, maybe the GPU is good, but we'll never know because the 8 GB RAM is very limiting. You know why I say that? Look at these benchmarks. I mean, sure, 3D Mark runs fine, but all of the other games have an average FPS of just 18 to 20 FPS on low to medium settings on 1080p. And that is when I'm talking about the games that actually work. Half of the games don't even work on this laptop. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. So if I go into the task manager and let's go to the performance section, and here you can see that I have total of 8 GB of memory, and the GPU has a shared memory of 3.8 GBs, which sounds good. But let's say I just launch Far Cry 5. Alright. Now we go into Far Cry 5 and we look at the video tab. What now? It says 2671 MB of my VRAM is being used out of 128 megabytes. This 128 megabytes of VRAM is allotted to this GPU. Task Manager say something else. This says 3.8 GBs. This says 128 MBs. That can't be right. Hold on, let me just try and confirm it with the game bar. And game bar, GPU. It's being used. GPU's VRAM is 0.1 GB. Just 0.1 GB. That's really bad. And it shows. I mean, most of the games that I ran, they don't even run properly. Far Cry 5 ran at about 20 FPS, Doom ran at 22 FPS, and of course Vulkan wasn't supported for some reason. And then you talk about esports titles like CSGO and Rocket League, and these titles also ran at just 60 to 65 FPS on medium settings, and that's genuinely very disappointing. See, of course, if you want, you can play 720 games on this. Like, sure, GTA 5 runs at 720p and you can get up to 45 FPS, but that doesn't really match up to what Intel was claiming. I mean, MX350 and MX300 series, even MX250 for that matter, performs better than this. And there's the other factor as well. Sure, the MX series has 2 GB of VRAM as compared to what 3.8 GBs or 4 GBs of VRAM that the Intel Z graphics would have. But that 2 GB is dedicated VRAM. So that genuinely helps a lot, whether you're doing Photoshop, Premiere or gaming, basically any sort of 3D processing, dedicated VRAM is always and always better rather than using shared memory. And that's basically the problem here. See, sure, Intel says that yeah, without the MX series you can get this laptop, but it's not really worth it. And I think ASUS also understands that, which is why the higher variant of the laptop with the i7 chipset also comes with an MX330 chipset, because they know that the Z graphics in itself is just hype. I mean, yeah, calling it just hype might be a little too, like, going a little too hard on it and being a little too critical and not applauding it for what it is, because for whatever benchmarks that it could run, it was kind of keeping up with the performance of MX250, but the performance is bad. Like, genuinely, the performance is really bad. It's not stable. Like, ASUS tries its best that it can. Like, the laptop also comes with a performance mode that you can toggle by pressing the function key and the F key, that basically switches the CPU's TDP from 15 watts to 28 watts. And that's great. Except that it's not. Because the performance gain isn't there. I mean, I'm just getting 1 or 2 FPS extra and that's it. And that FPS gain, I'm talking about CSGO, not Far Cry 5 or something like that. CSGO gives me just 2 extra FPS while turning the performance mode on, so it's kind of pointless. Now, the good part here is that the laptop does not really heat up because the thermals has been taken care of pretty well. Digging inside, you'll find a single heat pipe with a fan, which is fine. Now, ASUS calls this the Ice Blade fan, and it works. I mean, I'm not going to get into the naming and the nomenclature and everything. It works better. And while it says that it's supposed to be more cooler than the previous generations, yeah, whatever. I mean, it's not a massive jump or anything. The laptop anyway does not have enough horsepower to really reach those levels of heat. I mean, if I do want to push it, yeah, benchmarking up with just Far Cry 5 and Doom for about 20 minutes, I was able to reach 93 degrees centigrade on the CPU. But then again, this laptop isn't meant to do all of that. And for idle use case, I was averaging about 53 to 54 degrees of centigrade on normal usage, and that's pretty fine. As for upgradability, you can either change the existing Intel SSD or even add a new one in the other NVMe slot. The Wi-Fi card can be changed, but it is Wi-Fi 6 already, so I don't think you'll be needing any changes anytime soon. Now, another thing that the new 10nm chipset was supposed to bring was better battery life. The laptop comes with a 42 watt 3-cell battery that's already smaller than the 50 watt we saw on the VivoBook S14. So a better chipset with a smaller battery life should equal a more power demanding chipset with a slightly bigger battery. Not exactly. I was averaging just 3 hours of battery backup on this laptop with normal usage, and that's pretty much the standard. I mean, I was expecting quite a lot out of it, but not that good. And that's pretty much the whole verdict here. You see, Intel hyped the 11th gen with Z graphics quite a lot. But at the end of the day, if you compare it with the i5-10-2510U processor, the differences are just a difference in the architecture going from 14nm to 10nm. You get slightly better clock speeds, and that's it. It's still a 4-core, 8-thread processor. The Z graphics, the jump in the Z graphics from the UHD graphics isn't exactly there. That's something you can take use of. And this thing still starts at 60,000. For that price, you can get a 10th gen Intel processor with NVIDIA's graphics with dedicated VRAM. And I feel that is a much better bet. Like, there are tons and tons of options from ASUS itself. Then you have options like the Mi Horizon notebook and the Acer Swift series. All of these laptops offer 10th gen processors with NVIDIA's dedicated MX series GPUs, and they offer a much better and more compatible and seamless graphical improvement. Now, see, the thing is, sure, if you just want to buy the laptop for the 11th gen factor and feel that, okay, down the line or down the road, maybe updates will improve the performance of the Z graphics, maybe they will. Trust me, I have faith in the fact that yes, drivers can improve the overall compatibility of the Z graphics. But what they won't improve is the kind of performance. The reason for that is this is still an 8GB laptop. There is no way to upgrade the RAM. When there is no way to upgrade the RAM, there is no way to upgrade that VRAM also. And that VRAM is very heavily dependent on your pre-installed RAM. Just does not offer that good of a performance that you would have really liked. I mean, just to give you an example, look at the other side of things. Look at Team Red. AMD also has integrated graphics like the Vega 5 or the Vega 7 graphics. All of those laptops, like take any Ryzen laptop, they all come with good amount of RAM and they are all upgradable. But there's good reason for that. You cannot just put 8GB of RAM on an Intel CPU with shared graphical prowess and expect it to offer the same level of performance or beat NVIDIA for that matter. You can't. So yeah, if you're in the market looking for a new laptop, ASUS has done a good job. But at the end of the day, get a 10th gen Intel with NVIDIA's MX series GPU, you'll be happier. Well, that was it. If you like this video, make sure to let us know by giving us a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel for more awesome tech content. Also, we have a lot of more videos coming up, so make sure all of our notifications are turned on. So yeah, you will get notified of all of them. And yeah, I mean, if you still want to buy this, there will be a buying link down in the description box. But take my advice, just get the 10th gen. You will be happier. The performance jump isn't there. It's not there. It's just not worth it.